Today on Inquirer, DOH officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeire says she's now ready to become health secretary.
Sa tingin ko, I've reached that point na ito na yung time para makatulong talaga ako para sa ating bansa.
President Bongbong Marcos says his administration is looking into establishing a subsidy fund for its flagship housing program. Explosion rocks laundry shop in Manila. Several bystanders, including students, injured. And with the price of fresh eggs on the rise, DOH warns public not to buy frozen eggs. Good evening. President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. said on Tuesday that his administration is looking into establishing a subsidy fund for its flagship housing program. In a speech during the groundbreaking ceremony of the 4PH housing project in Batasan, Quezon City, Marcos Jr. said the program will include a 1 billion peso subsidy to prospective tenants. Marcos also vowed to secure the needed housing support for 2023, noting that many of the beneficiaries of the government's housing units are still not able to afford its monthly amortization. He also called on Congress for its support for the housing interest as part of the regular appropriations for the next years.
Congress for your support, including housing interest support, as part of the regular appropriations for the succeeding year. The government is committed to secure the needed housing interest support for 2023. Siguro maglalagay tayo diyan, siguro pag nakahanap tayo ng pera, mga 1 billion siguro to start with para meron tayong subsidy na may bibigay para sa ating mga magiging tenant.
President Marcos also directed the Department of Social Welfare and Development to continue implementing programs to reduce poverty and hunger in the country, including the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program.
Continue calibrating the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program and strengthening the government's social protection initiatives, especially since one of the measures we undertake to address poverty is through the grants that we provide for the health needs of every household and education of our children. I call upon the department to continue to implement the unconditional cash transfer program to provide cash grants to poor households and individuals who do not benefit from the lower income tax rates but who are adversely affected by rising prices.
More Filipinos believe that their quality of life will improve in the next 12 months. According to a social weather station survey conducted from December 10 to 14 last year, almost half or 49% of Filipinos expect their quality of life to improve in the next 12 months. Meanwhile, 37% said their quality of life will remain the same, while 5% expect theirs to worsen. Net personal optimism went up by 4 points to positive 44, classified as excellent by SWS and is the highest since December 2019. The Department of Health on Tuesday issued a warning against the purchase and consumption of frozen eggs. At a news conference, DOH officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeire warned about the potential dangers of using frozen eggs because of the risk of bacteria contamination. The warning comes after Filipino consumers turned to buying frozen eggs amid the rise in prices of fresh eggs. Vergeire further explained that while not all eggs may be contaminated once frozen, the risk of contamination will always be there.
Ang itlog, kapag na-subject siya sa extremes of temperature, maari po siyang magkaroon mag-breed siya ng mga organismo na maaring makasama sa ating katawan. Specifically, may mga specific na bacteria na easily naapektuhan niya at nakokontaminate niya ang itlog. So kami po ay nagbibigay ng abiso at saka ng guidance para sa atin pong mga kababayan. Ito pong mga pino-freeze na mga itlog ay maaring makasama sa inyong health.
The Anti-Terrorism Council has branded community doctor Maria Natividad Marian Silva or Nati Castro as a terrorist. In a resolution made public on Monday, the council found probable cause to designate Castro as a, quote, terrorist individual for her involvement in planning, training, preparing, and facilitating the commission of terrorism and recruitment and providing material support to alleged terrorist organizations. According to the resolution, Castro, who served Luma communities in Mindanao, played an, quote, active and continuous role in attaining the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, National Democratic Front of the Philippines mission and objectives by providing training to the communist rebels. It asserted that she held various key positions in the CPP, NPA, NDFP and was involved in the, quote, generation, management, and supervision of its funds sourced locally and abroad and its subsequent allotment schemes. However, Human Rights Alliance Group Karapatan Secretary General Cristina Palabay condemned this, calling the designation baseless and malicious. She said Castro is not a terrorist but rather a respected doctor and a human rights defender. Palabay said the designation is the latest in the ATC's, quote, exercise of broad arbitrary powers that is in violation of Castro's right to due process. Palabay further said that the move was meant to place Castro's life in danger. Castro was arrested in February last year at her home in Manila and was flown to Agusan del Sur where she was held for charges of kidnapping and supporting the CPP. Next on Inquirer Today, DOH Officer in Charge Maria Rosario Vergeire says she is now ready to become Health Secretary. Explosion rocks laundry shop in Manila. Several bystanders, including students, injured. And Paulo Contes confirms relationship with Yen Santos. This Inquirer Today will be back shortly.
Patuloy man ang pagmahal ng sibuyas, hindi ito mahigitan ang pagmamahal ko sa'yo.
Actually, idea ko yun. Nag-iisip kasi ako ng souvenir, ano kayang ibibigay ko na magiging useful sa mga bisita. Kasi sa mga nakikita ko sa normal wedding, mga displays, tapos kung ano-anong mga pinapamigay. Tapos naisipan ko, kasi ang dami naming sibuyas. Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, parang what if sibuyas na lang ang ipamigay natin?
Family business kasi yun ni Mrs. Naisipan lang niya namin na i-share yung blessings na natanggap namin. Since sibuyas talaga yung naging source of income nitong mga nakaraan. Kaya din sibuyas yung naisip namin. Since palayo kasi yung naging venue ng wedding namin, lahat ng bisita namin is from North, Ilocos and Bulacan. Nakita namin naman ng mga nakaraan, talagang trending si sibuyas. Na halos lahat ng post sa Facebook, lagi sinasabi, onion is gold. So naisip namin, para ganahan sila din pumunta doon sa wedding namin, hindi sila magdalawang isip. Ginawa namin talaga yun na free yung onion para pag uwi nila, masaya naman silang uuwi.
Parang ang ginawa lang namin, in-announce lang namin na meron kaming pasibuyas. Which is effective naman kasi meron yung mga mag-anak lalo dito sa Bulacan na mga pumunta dahil mamimigay kami ng sibuyas.
Tuwan-tuwa sila eh.
Oo, sabi nila ito daw yung nakamahal na souvenir na natanggap nila. Meron yung mga negative comments na ginawa lang daw yun para mag-trending, mag-viral, magpasikat. Tapos sinasabi nila na sana yung ibinili ng sibuyas ay ibinila na lang ng ibang bagay. Kaya ginawa namin yun. Para makatipid na din sa wedding kasi instead na bumili pa kami ng other souvenirs, meron naman kaming resources na free na kukuhanin lang namin dito. Kaya yun na yung pinamigay namin. At least magiging masaya pa yung mga bisita kasi syempre sa sobrang mahal ng sibuyas ngayon. Talagang masakit sa bulsa bumili.
Pinansin kasi yung sibuyas kaysa dun sa isang giveaways namin na yung perfume. Mas gusto nila yung amoy sibuyas.
Amoy sibuyas kaysa sa pabango.
Officer in charge of the Department of Health, Maria Rosario Vergeire, announced on Tuesday that she is ready to assume the role of secretary, a position that has been open since the beginning of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration. To tell us more, here's Zacarian Sarao with his report. Zach?
Yes, Neil, after several months of the Department of Health not having its own secretary, Officer in charge Maria Rosario Vergeire earlier said that she is now ready to assume the vacant position. In a press briefing, Vergeire, who is basically the DOH acting head as the department OIC, said her experiences connecting with diverse groups and Filipinos on the ground had made her realize opportunities to implement DOH reforms. She stated that even despite past hesitations, with the present state of the current health system, it is now, quote-unquote, the appropriate time to help the country. Vergeire, however, clarified that she will have to discuss this matter with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. first, quote-unquote, if and when that will be his decision. Marcos had previously maintained that he only plans to appoint a health secretary once the COVID-19 pandemic in the Philippines normalizes. In the same media briefing, Vergeire also announced that the DOH is expecting the initial doses of bivalent vaccines by the end of March this year. Bivalent vaccine is a type of vaccine that targets specific variants of COVID-19. She said this was made possible after the DOH finalized the commitment of COVAX, one of the manufacturers of bivalent vaccines, to donate the said doses to the country. Neil, apart from COVAX, Vergeire also said that the DOH is now coordinating with other countries offering bivalent vaccine donations. One country already confirmed its commitment, but is still in the process of signing an agreement with the DOH. Back to you, Neil.
Zach, I want to go back to your story on OIC Vergeire. So that's the question here. So what is President Marcos' reasoning for not appointing a health secretary despite him being in office already for more than 6 months? Because critics argue here that the pandemic itself should be more than enough of a reason for President Marcos to appoint a health secretary so that we can address this as soon as we can.
Well, Neil, President Marcos had previously implied that not appointing a health secretary is one of the government's courses of action to normalize COVID-19. It can be recalled that Marcos said that he would wait for the COVID-19 situation in the country to normalize first before he appoints a health secretary. In fact, Marcos previously said that ideally, it should be the time when the government no longer treats COVID-19 as a public health emergency, but rather, quote-unquote, something that we will have to manage forever like the flu pneumonia. Despite this, experts and lawmakers have repeatedly urged Marcos to appoint a secretary or at least appoint Vergeire, as her title of OIC limits her ability to make major reforms or decisions within the DOH. House Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro, for her part, said that Marcos's move not to appoint a health secretary shows that the public health is not a priority of his administration, even amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, because there are certain tasks really that only the secretary of a particular government department would be able to do. That's Zacarian Sarao reporting live. Several bystanders, including students, were injured due to an explosion in a laundry shop near De La Salle University in Malate, Manila on Monday. CCTV footage captured the moment the explosion took place in the laundry shop on Fidel Reyes Street at around 7 in the evening. According to authorities, at least 10 were injured in the incident. The explosion caused a fire which was declared extinguished by 7:34 p.m. according to the Bureau of Fire Protection. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the explosion. Alamin naman natin ang mainit na balita sa mundo ng showbiz kasama si Irvin Santiago. Irvin?
Hi Neil at sa lahat ng mga kabandera natin all over the universe. Ito na nga ang latest bandera chika. Sa wakas, diretsahan ng inamin ni Paulo Contis na girlfriend niya na ngayon ang aktres na si Yen Santos. Tinuldukan na nga ng kapuso actor ang matagal ng espekulasyon tungkol sa relasyon nila ni Yen na nagsimula lamang as a friend. Ngunit agad ding nilinaw ni Paulo sa panayam ng Fast Talk with Boy Abunda na hindi si Yen Santos ang naging dahilan ng paghihiwalay nila ng dating live-in partner na si LJ Reyes. Ayon kay Pau, what you see is what you get sa relasyon nila ni Yen at hindi naman daw nila pwedeng ipilit sa tao na maging happy na lang para sa kanila. Wala rin daw silang magagawa kung ayaw silang tanggapin at paniwalaan ng publiko. Inamin ni Paulo na matagal na silang hindi okay ni LJ kahit na noong nagsasama pa sila. Naging madalas daw ang pag-aaway nila lalo na nang magkaroon ng pandemya. Pero aminado si Paulo na marami siyang naging kasalanan at pagkukulang kay LJ at isa na nga riyan ang pagbabaliwala niya sa mental health issues ng dating partner. Feeling niya yun ang naging simula ng kanilang pagkawasak. Kasunod nito, matapang din niyang sinabi na may mga kalokohan din siyang ginagawa noon na nakaapekto sa relasyon nila bilang partners in life. Nilinaw din niya ang issue tungkol sa pagpunta nila ni Yen sa Baguio City kung saan nabanggit nga niya ang mga katagang as a friend. Ano yan nang mangyari yon ay nasa Amerika na si LJ at ang anak nilang si Summer at si Aki na anak naman ng aktres kay Paulo Abilino. Ang inisip daw kasi ng tao habang umiiyak daw si LJ sa interview noon ni Boy Abunda ay nagpapakaligaya sila ni Yen sa Baguio. Paglilinaw ni Pau, wala na sila ni LJ na magpunta sila ni Yen sa Baguio City. Nauna rito, inamin din ng aktor na hindi siya nagbibigay ng sustento sa dalawang anak niya sa dating member ng EB Babes na si Lian Paz, pati na sa anak nila ni LJ na si Summer. Depensa ng aktor, may sarili siyang dahilan kung bakit itinigil na niya ang sustento. Pero siniguro niya na nag-iipon siya ngayon para may maibigay sa mga anak pagdating ng tamang panahon. At yan ang bandera chika natin today. Thanks, Neil.
Maraming salamat, Irvin. And these are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Catch Inquirer Today live every weekdays at 6 p.m. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.